Hi there. Today I'm going to show you how to put back together, reassemble a Kel-Tec sub 2000 of the 9mm variety. This is a Glock style stipulated sub 2000. Uses Glock magazines. I personally wouldn't get any others, but that's just me. I've taken it pretty much all the way apart except for the trigger guard, which is a biatch to get back on, so I didn't do it. I mean, it's not a major deal, but it's kind of a hassle. And I didn't take this off. It's not that hard either. I just felt I didn't need to. If you want to do it, be my guest. First thing you do is you take this piece here, whatever they call it, I don't know. And if you notice, this is kind of rounded. It goes right here on this round part there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. These three slots line up with that slot. This lines up with that. And if you notice also, there's a couple of grooves here. These line up and go right in those grooves. So if you line this up to this post, you should be able to just slap that bad boy right back in there. Next thing you do, you take your hammer, and this hammer and the hammer spring are very similar, almost identical to an AK-47. So if you're familiar with that particular weapon, it shouldn't be that big a deal for you to put it back in. If I can remember how to do it, I'll be in high cotton here. You take your hammer post, and I think I've got it backwards. Matter of fact, I know I have it backwards. You take it apart. The hammer goes like this. And then it goes like this. And then it goes like that. And then you stick this into the post, back into the post hole, which is right there. And it goes all the way down in there. And everybody's happy. And then this goes all the way like that when it's cocked. Next thing you do, you take your Sear. This is the Sear. Take your Sear spring. Sear goes right on there like that. The short end of this spring hooks into, I'm going to half cock it right there. Short end of the spring goes in this curved area. There's short end, there's the curved area. You put it in there. You might have to lift the hammer or the Sear up a hair and then pull it over. And then it goes over this post. Push your Sear back down in there all the way. Make sure that hammer spring or the Sear spring, keep your hand on it, because if you don't, it may go and have fun finding it. Sear spring sits on top of this edge. That's how it's supposed to be. So don't go freaky on me if it's sitting there, because that's the way it's supposed to be. The next thing you need to do, you take your transfer bar, your trigger, and your trigger spring. Short end goes towards the front of the gun, long end goes to the back. The long end of this spring butts up against this square piece on your transfer bar. You put your trigger on, preferably on correctly, and it goes in the top hole. Down in here, there's two walls. This post ends up in between those two walls, so it can't go anywhere past where the walls allow them to go. So you can't get it if you push it all the way down to start with. So put your trigger onto the trigger bar, then take your transfer bar or your spring and run it over, I don't know if you can see that, over that post. If you push it down too far, you won't be able to maneuver your transfer bar over to here. Now it goes in that hole. It's not going in that hole right now because I have to move the trigger over in between those walls. Then I push it all the way down in there. It can only go to there and there. It stops. And if I push down on it, it should spring back up, just like that. Now, take your magazine. First you take your magazine release and put it in. Take your magazine, put your magazine in, like so. And it looks to me like we're ready to put everything back together. So I'm going to take the other side of the receiver and I'm going to notice, like I said, there's the spring, there's where the spring hits. So you put that on there and you make sure that your trigger guard is down. Now since I took the buttstock off, hold on a minute, I've got to check something. My camera's been giving me the Shiites lately. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it's been shutting off and it's bringing me down. Anyway, since I took the buttstock off, I can't hook in the barrel to the buttstock like you normally would do. Probably one of the reasons you bought the Sub 2000 in the first place. So this is going to wobble a little bit, so I'm going to have to keep a hairy eyeball on it, make sure it doesn't do that, because it makes it a lot more difficult to get this piece in. And as I said in the demarcation video, I took this spring and put a bend in it. That way, when you put it back, when you're putting it down there, it doesn't fall out. Because if it falls out, then you have to take it over, back on, back on, back. It takes too much time. I ain't got time for it. And I don't have time for it either. So, you put this on, and you got to start your weaseling process. The good part here is that down in here, here's where your, let me show you, where your hammer post is, and that lines up right in there. It goes right in there. That can be a biatch, but fortunately for us, you can see that post and you can see that it is aligned. To keep your trigger guard down and start the weaseling process, making sure that your magazine release is in the right spot, and start the weasel process. And you weasel, weasel, weasel. And this is probably one of the hardest things to do on this particular gun, once you've gotten it apart, is to get this piece back together. And here's part of the problem. I don't have it together correctly. Actually, it's not going together at this point. I have to weasel it some more. again, this is the hardest part. Okay, I'm going to take this off, try to see what the problem is here, because there is a problem at this point. Sometimes these go in real easy. I'll show you a little trick that I forgot to do. Okay, normally what I will do is take some silicone spray, any variety, doesn't matter to me, hose down a Q-tip, and anywhere that needs to have any kind of interaction with one of the posts, I put a little dab of dew on there to give it a little bit of slickness. And then start over again. If you can get this on straight to start with, everything's straight, it'll weasel right in like it's doing pretty much now. And the weasel process has now worked. Now I'm going to take my little nodgy here, stick it on here, give it a little bit of threading. Trying not to cross thread as I go. That's weaseled in pretty good. Everything is pretty good. Make sure that works. That does. Now I'm going to take the Glock magazine out. And I'm going to take my dowel. You'll need a dowel or a long screwdriver or something of that persuasion. And I think I barocked. I did. I took the magazine out too soon. Push the magazine in, you see the hammer come up. See that? Hammer comes up. You need the hammer up so you can stick your dowel in there and cock it. Oops. Damn it. It'll cock, don't worry. Certainly hope so. There. Cock it. Normally it's not that hard, but since the camera's on, of course it is. Take your magazine out. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to take a screwdriver and I'm going to insert at least one more screw. I choose this one. Make sure this bad boy's not going to come apart. Now, you're going to need some kind of wire with a hook on it. I'm using this magnet, short-sided one, and I'm going to stick it under here. And if you look closely, you can see this is your transfer bar. I'm going to take this. I'm not really using the magnet. I'm using the bottom of the magnet to hook this. Everybody see that? And the reason I'm doing that is because if if you try to put the safety in from the other side, it is horrendous. I tried it for quite a while and I couldn't get it done, and I pretty much packed my trash and headed for the hills with it. Your red fire rubber band is basically what that is. Goes on this side, and this is the reason that in the video where we took it apart, I told you to take the C-clamps off of both sides. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull your transfer bar down. You're going to stick the safety in. And now, as you can see, safety's on both sides. But what do we need to do? Well, we need to put in that plunger from the other side, or from this side, the plunger we took out. And the problem is I can't see where the hole is. I'm gonna find it, don't worry. There it is. You see that hole? And I think I pulled it too far. Nope. Okay, you want to pull it just far enough so that you can get this plunger in. And from experience, I know that it's best if I used my non-dominant hand and a little bit of Zen. A little more Zen needed. And put this plug right in. Plug is in. Easy. Now, you can see the plug is in. If you push that plug too far, it's going to shoot up into the gun. You're going to have to take it apart and start all over again. So, at this point, being very, very careful, you take your C-clamp, and I'll set it down, and I'm going to push the C-clamp on, and the C-clamp is now on. Now I should be able to push this in without going far enough that the little plug comes out the other side. As you can see, I can do that. Now I'm going to turn it over and grab the other C-clamp, and I'm going to put it on this side. Now the safety is stipulated again. See that? Now, I have other screws to put in. I'll put them in as quickly as possible, which is apparently not that quick. I'm also going to show you something about this middle screw. A screwdriver. Screwdriver. So then you had a little bit of trouble with this aftermarket piece, but now I've got it fixed. So I'm going to line this up. You take it in right to the very edge, making sure that you don't pull this out all the way, because if you do, that plug will come out. And there. Now you turn it clockwise. Turn it counterclockwise to get it out, and it clicks into this ridge, and then it goes up and down, and it can't move unless you put it on that nub the way we took it off. Then you'll need your bolt and your giant bolt assist, and that goes in just like this. Just like that. And on these, you have to kind of slam this in to get it in correctly. And that didn't sound right because I didn't have it in right. There. You can feel it push when you push through past the bolt. You put your recoil spring in, and as you can see, it's angled. So you don't want to angle this way because it needs to run the same angle as the buttstock. So you put your charging handle in first, and you put your recoil spring in, push in on it, push this button down, same way you took it out. Now your charging handle won't come out. And then I have this choice aftermarket piece that I use. The new ones, the Gen 2s, have an adjustable stock, but I don't have one of those yet. But I'm in the process of getting one, so everybody stay calm. Now, I'm going to see if there's any way that I baroque this thing up. I'm going to put my sling back on it as quick as humanly possible, which apparently is not that quick. And zip-de-doo-dah. Now, I should be able, safety works, should be able to fire it. Seems to work. Cock it, fire it, safety off, or safety on. Now it won't fire, safety off. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to the range. Hope you join me. Thank you very much for your cooperation in this matter.